Dr. Griffin went on and talked about all the different cuts. So what we're going to do is I'm going to break it down into the basic subprimals. Okay, I'm not going to break it all the way down into retail cuts. Some of the things that we'll go through will be, retail cuts, but for the most part, we're just going to break this into the main subprimals. And then behind me here, we have all the different tables, just like we did with beef. The only reason we didn't do this with beef is because we didn't have like a couple extra hours to spare. Okay, so beef takes quite a bit longer. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to take off the shanks, just the front feet. We just cut those off perpendicular to the direction of the shank itself, right at the hock. Get that joint. Now, as he talked about the main sections here, we got the shoulder, and then the loin and belly and spare ribs here, and then we have the ham. So for the shoulder, there's a couple of different ways we can do this. We could go off the elbow pocket, go about an inch or so back from the elbow. You can also go between certain ribs. A lot of times you'll go either between the first and second rib, second and third and fourth. A lot of it depends on where the market's at for loin and belly versus some of the items of the shoulder. So we're gonna go about an inch or so behind that shoulder. We'll go here between the second and third. And the key is I wanna make this cut where it's perpendicular to the direction of the loin. And the reason I do that is so that whenever we do end up getting our full pork loin, that we are able to then cut chops or whatever we're gonna do with that, and we end up getting even steaks all throughout the entire carcass and to get through the entire loin. So it cuts through the vertebral column, and then down there below, we're actually gonna be cutting through the scapula.
Would the plant be using bandsaws for that?
Yeah, in the plant they would be doing all this with a bandsaw.
It's not automated?
Automated? No. There's still enough difference in pigs that they can't quite automate the system fully.
Students are cheaper than automation.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so one thing that you'll see on our table back behind us whenever we start talking about the different cuts is we've got the whole entire shoulder complex. So this whole shoulder complex, in some cases, could be cooked just like this. Now, most of the time we would remove the neck bones. So Adam, if you want to start removing the neck bones, and we could talk about the different parts in here, but this back end here towards the back of the animal, and so this vertebrae right here, this first cervical vertebrae, would actually be the atlas vertebrae where the head attached, okay? So at the back of the skull, there's a couple of bony protrusions called occipital condyles. Those occipital condyles actually articulate right in that atlas vertebrae, and that's where the head swivels, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove these first couple of ribs, first couple of thoracic vertebrae, and then the cervical vertebrae here, and then we'll have a little bit better look at what we've got underneath those neck bones. The next cut that we're gonna make is we're gonna separate the ham off from the loin and belly. And so we'll do that about 1.5 inches. The spec is 1.5 to 3 inches. And then again, I wanna make this cut and this cut parallel. I wanna make this cut perpendicular to the direction of the loin so that I have a nice square cut on each end. Okay, so there's the ham. So now there's a couple different things we can do with the ham. We have a table for the ham that we'll talk about there behind us here in a minute. We do several different things. We can break the ham up into boneless pieces. We can leave it whole. We can take the femur out of the middle and make it into the pit ham. You can remove the H-bone. But all in all, we're gonna end up skinning this little extra flank muscle. This muscle is actually the same muscle here like in beef where we'd have a flank steak. That was the same thing, so that would be similar to the flank in beef. But this is our ham. And again, we're not gonna do a whole lot more with it up here. Afterwards, after we get through cutting this, if we wanna break it down further, we can, if anybody wants to see anything. Then we've got the belly, spare ribs, and the loin. So I'm gonna make this cut. If you look back here, we've got the psoas major or the tenderloin muscle. Tenderloin muscle right here. I'm gonna go right up next to that tenderloin muscle, and that's where the separation for the belly and the loin is gonna take place. I'm gonna line that cut up next to, let's make a straight cut right up along the vertebral column, right up here at the front, okay?
you can have people that want, you know, a soup bone or something like that, but it has to be really, that'd be a more smaller end
Okay.
market. A lot of times
So there's
it's
the
really
belly
bad.
and spare ribs, and then the loin.
Yes.
So this would be an entire full pork loin. From end to end, we have our blade section, so you can see the shoulder blade bone down here, okay? So that would be closest to the shoulder. That's the end of the scapula right there. There's our blade section. And then our sirloin end. So our sirloin end connected up here with the ham. So we see our tenderloin muscle and then the whole sirloin section. To make this a center cut sirloin, center cut loin, we would have 8 ribs included in that. And so what we would do is we'd go right up here in front of the hip bone, and I can actually cut that back. So we'll go about 1.5 lumbar vertebrae. I'll make that section, and then we'll find the ribs, find the last rib, and I'll count up 8. 8, and then I'm gonna make that separation right there, and I can cut off the blade section sirloin section. And then we would have a center cut these are all just different examples of sections of the pork loin. Okay? So we'll show you at the table behind us again here in a minute, talk about the different types of pork loins, and then look at the baby back ribs. So baby back ribs are going to come from right here off of the loin. And in that case, in the plant, a lot of times what they're going to do is they would leave this together. And so in the major processing plants, that way you can get that full set of baby back ribs. If you wanted a bone-in, center cut, so your bone-in pork chops, a lot of them are going to come from here. Sometimes you'll get some from the blade end. Sometimes you get some from the sirloin, but by and large, you're going to get some from the center section on the bone-in pork chops. Okay. Then